new ceiling, but not just new ceiling, also new lights. Why do we replace ceilings? If you look at the ceiling on the left, that's what's known as a spline ceiling. Spline ceilings are very unforgiving. If a tile gets stained, it's very difficult to replace. If contractors need to do work and run wiring, which they frequently do, over the ceiling, it's very difficult to access through a spline ceiling. Not to mention the fact that the materials in the spline ceiling have gotten old. Technically, you really shouldn't paint a spline ceiling because it loses some of its acoustical features. The ceilings are old, they're problematic, and they need to be replaced, and we've been doing that, we've been phasing that in over the past decade. In addition, I'll point out too, the lighting. On the top left, it's older fluorescent lights that are much less energy efficient than the lights that you see on the right, which are LEDs. And the quality of light that comes out of the LEDs is far superior to the light that comes out of the fluorescents. And you can see it's the drop ceiling on the right that most of us are familiar with. It allows for much easier access and much easier retrofitting when there's contracting work that needs to be done. So it enhances our classrooms, it improves the aesthetics, it improves the quality of the environment. The lighting obviously improves our student and teachers' abilities to see and do their work. And it's just, this is something that we continue to do in Sayville. We take pride in our facilities, and we do try to maintain them in a way that's also fiscally responsible, but keeps our environment inviting and healthy for our students. So that is the end of my slideshow. I do want to mention a few other things. We have 2 community workshops coming up. This is part of an ongoing series to address the social and emotional needs of our students, and I'm going to call on Mrs. Macris to talk about the next 2 workshops. Mrs. Macris?
Yeah, so the next workshop will be on Wednesday, March 30th. It will be via Zoom. That will be from 6:30 to 8 p.m. The presentation will be from 6:30 to 7, and then an opportunity for parents or the community Q&A. The title of that workshop is Cultivating Mental Wellness, How to Support Your Child Through Tough Times and Build Resilience. And we will have 2 speakers from PM Pediatrics that will present on a variety of topics for our families. So that's Wednesday, March 30th via Zoom, 6:30 to 8. And I'll send out a link to the community and families next week.
Parents or children and parents?
This is geared toward parents.
Okay.
Yes, this is geared towards parents. And then in that same email that I'll be sending out next week, the following workshop is a collaboration, the Office of Student Services with our Special Education Department. We're on Monday, April 4th. That'll begin at 7 p.m. And the title of that workshop is Skills for Success, Help Your Child and Teen Develop a Growth Mindset. And our facilitator will be Cindy Goldrich. And she's a certified ADHD coach, and she specializes in executive functioning disorders. But I just want to, Mrs. Giganti and Mr. Renahan, do you want to add anything about that workshop on the 4th?
Yeah, Cindy Goldrich is one of the leaders in the field. She has 2 books that she's published. The first one was more geared towards parents with very practical ideas to work on executive functioning skills. She's done a lot over the past few years with the pandemic. She offers a lot of workshops for parents. She came out with another book to really help staff, and she's really been involved in a lot of districts to help both families, students, and staff. So she's a great asset to have.
So we welcome our families to both. Like I said, more specific details, a sign-up link with the Zoom link will be offered next week. We are looking forward to getting back to in-person with our presentations, but feedback from our community has been when it's on Zoom at night, it's easier for families to attend if they're rushing home from work. So we look forward to both of those workshops.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Macris. Also, as part of our school update tonight, I just want to let the board know that we are in the process of updating our school opening plan. As everyone in the community knows, the governor recently rescinded the mask mandate, and so we are now engaged in a mask optional environment. And I would say approximately 90% of our students and staff have opted to no longer wear masks. So we do have some students and some staff who wish for personal reasons to continue wearing masks, and I'm pleased to report that that seems to be going very well. We still are required to maintain an opening plan, and in the opening plan, we do look to provide, our objectives have not changed. We want our students to be as safe as possible, our students, staff, and visitors. So we continue to use a multi-layered approach in terms of addressing our pandemic response. This includes rigorous cleaning, ventilation. We're still teaching and encouraging hand hygiene and respiratory etiquette. Physical distancing, we do observe this to the extent possible, but still allowing for optimal in-person instruction. So there's a little bit of balancing going on. We still, and we are cognizant of CDC, Department of Health, and New York State education requirements. Instruction, I'm very proud of our students, proud of our teachers who continue to do an outstanding job. Visitors have been returning to our schools. Buildings are conscious about the need to provide adequate spacing and ventilation when visitors come to the building. And of course, visitors, like our students and staff, are encouraged to not enter the building if they are feeling ill or displaying symptoms. So that is an ongoing requirement. In terms of contact tracing, we no longer are required to do contact tracing as we once were. Where we do have cases, though, on the elementary level, parents in the classroom are notified. On the secondary level, the parents of students who do come in close contact with positive cases are notified. If an individual tests positive, they must isolate for 5 days. So on the 6th day, they can return to school provided they wear a mask. And they wear the mask from the 6th day to the 10th day. That is the requirement provided to us by the New York State Department of Health. Close contacts are no longer required to quarantine if they are asymptomatic. We will be providing information when and if it occurs to those families. Meals are still provided to our students, and as part of the pandemic response, these meals are free. Students are getting back into normal routines in the cafeterias and at recess, but we will be monitoring that very closely. Transportation, to be clear, masks are optional on buses, and pretty much our bus schedule has been normal since the beginning of the year. We do provide extracurricular clubs, sports, and other activities, very much on schedule. Athletes are not required to engage in COVID-19 testing. The one area where individuals are required to be tested, the mandate for testing is still in place for all staff. Staff members who can demonstrate that they've been vaccinated are not required to participate in weekly testing. We did have concerts and plays in the fall, and we will continue to have these events. One of the things that we were able to do, and we anticipate we will continue to do, is offer streaming, because it's not only for folks who it wasn't only for folks who couldn't attend due to COVID. It also proved to be very popular with grandparents who live in Florida, or family members who might have been at work but could like steal away for half an hour to hear their son or daughter perform. So we will look to continue streaming of our concerts and our plays. Field trips, as they have always been, are continuing to be planned at the building level. And so in closing, this is the most current draft of our plan. We'll be editing it, making any fine tuning, and then we will be releasing it to the community. In closing, we'll be listening carefully to our state and local government officials who are monitoring COVID data. I'm pleased to announce that the COVID numbers for Suffolk County right now is approximately 1%, and our local numbers are much less than that. So we've been running days with pretty much zeros in terms of positive cases. So that's great news. Before I turn the floor over to Dr. Gurgis, I do want to mention two things. As the community knows, and as the board is aware, I announced my intent to retire at last week's board meeting. Since then, I've received dozens and dozens of emails. I've tried to reply to all of them, but I have to be honest, as I was reading them, you start getting a little choked up. So if I haven't gotten back to you, I will. I just want to thank everyone for their very kind and generous words, and I look forward to speaking to everyone personally as well as online, as well as through email. I do want to take a minute to just say thank you to the board. These have been incredible times, and I couldn't imagine going through anything like this with finer people than our Board of Education. So I just really want to say thank you to each and every one of you. Your support has been much appreciated, and I'm hoping that maybe we're going to see COVID in our rearview mirror, but I don't want to jinx us. So on that note, so we have a couple of exciting things. You need the projector, right, Dr. Gurgis?
Not for the bond piece.
Okay. All right. So last week Dr. Gurgis presented to the board a proposal that we are going to follow up with tonight concerning a potential bond for the upcoming school year, and it would be placed on the annual meeting in May to be voted on by the community. So we'll be addressing that, and as well as our next step in the budget process. So Dr. Gurgis.
Okay, thank you. On tonight's agenda is a resolution to add the proposed bond referendum in the annual meeting notice, which would subsequently put it on the ballot on May 17th. It's part of the prescribed timeline from our bond council. If you recall, last week the board adopted the SECRA, also known as the State Environmental Quality Review Act determination. The next step is the resolution that's on tonight. From there, we are required to publish notice of this 45 days prior to the election, no later than April 2nd. We do have it scheduled for March 31st, 2022. In addition, tonight there will be action regarding adopting election personnel, which is actually part of placing a bond referendum on the ballot. May 17th would come around, and then it would be at the voters' discretion at that point. If approved, it would then go into the next stages of planning, submission to SED, and securing bond financing for the projects to move forward. With respect to that, just to recap what the projects are and the finance aspect of it, it would be to recoat, reskin roofs of 5 buildings within Sayville School District. all of the instructional buildings except for Sayville Middle School. It encompasses a total of 350,000 square feet approximately. We are estimating a cost with contingencies at this point of approximately $12.5 million. The bond referendum is slated for $15 million. Again, this is the present day estimate depending on approval, cost of materials, labor, etc. Should there be any funds left over, and I want to be very clear about this, the additional funds would then go toward the HVAC project, which was previously proposed in the 2015 budget at Sayville High School within the auditorium. That again, if there are leftover funds, they would go towards implementing that project. But the bulk of that would be for the roofs at Cherry Avenue, Lincoln, Sunrise, Sayville High School, so, and the administration building, of course. So that is the bond update as of today. Again, the roll call vote on the agenda would be to place the referendum on the annual notice.
Do we get an estimate of the cost for the air conditioning at the high school?
I don't have it yet, but we're estimating approximately $2.5 million for it.
Just
Does the board have any questions for Dr. Burgess?
And it's called out in the resolution that if there is money left over, that will be used for the air conditioning.
It is clearly written in there, yes.
I'm looking at the resolution now, and it's not that specific.
Yes, it's HVAC upgrades, which we get very lucky when we would also try to move forward with air conditioning within the cafeteria. Again, this is completely contingent on the price, but these were the two projects that we discussed, that Mr. Belmonte and I discussed during the transition, that would be feasible within the bond.
And I guess the challenge is also, inflationary costs, because it takes so much room to get past the bond until we actually do the project. Is it a time limit?
We did not price this in terms of what is the present value, as if we were to put in a roof, what it would be today. We did add contingencies and increases, obviously because of the news and the economic climate that we're in right now, but also, if there is a delay with SED, let's say 6 months or so or more, we did put in a reasonable percentage that would cover the costs of the roofs within that amount.
You say skin over, that's not including any decking and like core material.
Correct.
They pull in core samples yet to see if there's any saturations anywhere?
We did, and so far they're clean.
Curbing, gravel stops, all that good stuff.
And it would be the metal edging on the
Yeah.
roofs as well.
Well, it's a lot of roofing. Not like the local 1,000 square.
300, just under 350,000.
Okay, so Dr. Burgess, you're going to do the contingency now?
Yes.
So, part of our requirement as a school district is we have an obligation to present to the board and to the community what would happen if a budget was defeated twice, and it would necessitate the board having to move to a contingency budget. So this is part of that requirement, and this is the final presentation for the budget proposal. So,
Okay.
Dr. Burgess?
Thank you very much. So over the past month or so, we've presented three different presentations on the two proposed 2022-23 budgets, discussing revenues, expenditures, what are in those expenditures, what makes up the revenues. So this is a summary of that, but also what would the district and what would the budget look like if it had to go under what's known as a contingency budget. So to review, currently the budget stands for next year at an amount of $99,302,157. or a 2.4% increase budget to budget. The associated tax levy is 1.72. Numerically, the dollar amount increase is $2.324 million from year to year. What you have on the screen is something that is required by the state, the administrative, program, and capital components. To briefly describe, the administrative component is basically one of the main operations, the administration that is associated with running the school district, the program that is primarily the teaching, learning, the instructional component, and the capital part is the brick, mortar, debt service, and associated benefits with positions that service the capital side of district operations. So, with a contingency budget, what makes it up and what's its purpose? On May 17th, the district residents will vote on the proposed school budget of the $99 million amount. Should the budget fail, the Board of Education has the option of putting up the same budget again of $99,302,157 for a revote on June 22nd, or adopt a contingent budget. If it fails twice, the district must automatically adopt a contingent budget, which comes with a 0% increase on the current tax levy. So there would be no change in the tax levy from year to year if the district were to go on contingency. So, what is a contingent budget? What makes it up? It only contains the legal expenditures authorized by statute and expenditures that maintain educational programs, preserve property, and maintain the health and safety of students and staff. A contingent budget includes reductions, or I should say potential reductions, in staffing, programs, capital items, and non-contingent items such as student supplies, certain equipment, and community use of buildings and grounds, assuming it does not impede on the health and safety aspect of the district. Spending limits. If the budget fails twice, the district must adopt a contingent budget with a 0 increase on the current tax levy. And the administrative cap, how much money can we spend on that first line on the first slide, cannot exceed, is the ratio, let me go with that first, between the administrative and program budget components, and it has to be the lesser of the current cap for 21-22 or the defeated 22-23 budget. So currently, 12.6% of this year's budget goes towards the administrative side. In 22-23, it is 11.69% proposed, so it cannot exceed that 11.69% if the budget has to go on contingency. So, what does it mean numbers-wise? The administrative budget would have to be reduced by approximately $35,418. The program budget would have to be reduced by $265,161, and the capital budget must be reduced by $1,111,525. So the program, total program and support reductions of $1.4 million. I just want to point out that the capital budget is a large amount because in the 2022-23 budget is a $1 million allocation to the capital fund for the bathroom renovations at Lincoln. Under a contingent budget, that expense would be taken out. It would not be deemed a health and safety necessity, so that is why the number is that large within that category. The total reduction comes out to $1,412,104 that we've calculated. On the revenue side, the other side, state aid, pilot payments, and other income would remain the same under the defeated budget. They do not have any effect as a result of the vote. The district must reduce spending by the amount that I just mentioned. And in addition to reducing the tax levy by $1,046,000 to get to that 0%, we also would reduce fund balance and reserves because they're not supporting those same programs that we're reducing by an additional amount of $366,000. So the below chart that I have up shows the appropriated fund balances and amounts from our reserves that we would appropriate under a contingency amount, which again is lower in a contingent budget by $366,000. Again, that balances out with the $1,412,000 previously mentioned. In general terms, the 21-22 budget, $96,978,058, which carried with it a 0.80 increase and a 0.61% increase on the tax levy, and a contingent budget would look As such, $97,890,053, a 0% on the tax levy, and a 0.94% increase budget to budget. One of the items that we must submit, regardless of whether the budget is approved or defeated, and it is submitted right after a Board of Education adopts a budget, is the property tax report card indicating, as I mentioned before, the budget-to-budget increases, but also what are the tax levy limit amounts from year to year. And as on the screen, this is what we would submit to the state, indicating what our proposed budget is and also what we are proposing as a tax levy, which is $61,883,366, or previously mentioned 1.72%. The arithmetic as to how we got to that number is below, and also included is the public school enrollment numbers and also the consumer price index. Now, mind you, that was the consumer price index at the end of the year, which is what they indicate. The CPI for February just came out, and it is considerably higher than that number, I should mention. Also included as a submission to the property tax report card are fund balances, or our reserves, reported our actual for last year and also for next year. As you'll see, there are similarities between 21-22 and 22-23, our estimates for the restricted fund balance. There is a large amount increased for the assigned appropriated fund balance. We did get direction from our auditors at the end of the year as to the funds we received from the health insurance settlement as to why it's where we should place it. So that is why you see such a jump in that second row over there. Finally, the last submission, our schedule of reserve funds, all of the reserves that the district maintains. What is our actual balance? And again, these are estimates. What do we estimate for June 30th or the end of the fiscal year? And what do we project is our usage as indicated in your budget presentation and forms for the 2022-23 school year in terms of what are we applying toward the budget on the revenue side. And to go over some brief slides from before, this is a pie chart of revenues and how they're applied towards the budget. As you see, property taxes and state aid make up the bulk, about a little over 90% of the school budget. Other incomes, pilots, applied fund balance, and investment income make up the remaining 10%. So in summary, our 2022-23 draft proposal is $99,302,157, or a spending increase of $2,324,099, 2.4%. It carries a proposed tax rate increase of 1.72%. That equates to an estimated annual increase of $138 based on an assessment of $40,000 per home. And this is at the tax cap, so there is no need to pierce the cap or call for a supermajority vote. And as I've shown, the instructional program here is supported by the budget, fiscal management, our facilities and staff. And again, it is an extremely proud program to be a part of, both for the administration, the school, and the community. And what's next? April 18th is the due date for petitions for board candidates by 5 o'clock. May 10th, between the hours of 4:30 and 7:30, is evening voter registration here in the administration building. The last day to request absentee ballots by mail is May 10th. Also, May 10th at 7:30 is the budget hearing and workshop. May 12th is the last day to register to vote, 3 o'clock in the administration building. May 16th by 4 o'clock is the last day to request an absentee ballot in person. And finally, on May 17th is the annual budget vote and the election at the old junior high school between the hours of 7 a.m. and 9 p.m. On tonight's agenda is a resolution to adopt the proposed 2022-23 budget in the amount of $99,302,157.
Question, for voter registration, it's just, is one day, all day, right? Can we put that back up?
Yep.
But anybody can register anytime during normal hours here, right?
Yes.
Not
Yeah.
just-
That's more or less a registration drive day.
And if you're already registered to vote in the general election, you're registered to vote in the
In this school election, yes, that's right.
So people don't have to go to motor vehicles to do it.
Yeah. If you registered, you're good.
I want to get many people out there to vote as possible. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board for Dr. Bridges?
This is my first budget process with Sayville, so I do thank you for your patience and your understanding as well.
Great job, you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Okay. Mrs. Vaccaro has provided with the board with proposed board meeting dates for the 22-23 school year, so I just asked the board to please look that over. And if you see any potential conflicts, please let us know. Yeah, so.
July meeting. What day did we?
And that is within the legal requirement for reorganization vote.
Good, yes.
Anybody want to do one meeting?
Maybe 3 meetings a month?
We are scheduled for a meeting on May 20th, wedding anniversary.
Hey. You have to push me.
Yeah, free cake. Someone has to serve the cake.
And that concludes.
Thank you, Dr. Stem. Okay. Next item on the agenda is Board of Education discussion. We have a few items. First item is a brief legislative forum, which is tomorrow morning over in BOCES in Newton Heights. I do understand we're going to have a good turnout of our local legislators, so as I'm registered to go. I will be attending tomorrow. I think Dr. Dirk is going and Mr. Governor is going, so come on down. It's a pretty good event. Most of the time we have our questions answered, and hopefully this year we get our questions answered. So, next item, I'm going to go a little bit out of order here. Board of Education retreat, March 23rd. Keep your calendars free.
Oh, I wanted to make sure, 6 o'clock, right?
6 o'clock.
Just wanted to try.
Claims order report. Anybody have any questions about the claims order report? High school musical, The Wedding Singer. Maybe we could get them to come and do an anniversary for our The Wedding Singer, March 24th and 26th, and it's at the high school. Okay, and the other item on our agenda, as Dr. Stimmel has announced to the public, that we will be looking for another superintendent, so we'll be starting the process pretty quickly, almost immediately, so Julie, so whatever shareholders we had last time and how we did it exactly last time, we're going to do it. But I don't know if we want to put a resume, what we're expecting the applicant, or just go with what we went to last time. Everybody? We have 2 new members, so it's,
Well, last time we got resumes, we picked X amount of people.
no, whatever our ad's going to be.
Oh, all right.
Excuse me, can you speak up a little? I don't know if it's just me or people in the back can't hear.
Am I loud enough, guys?
Now you're better, John. That's you.
Better?
Thank you.
Okay, we have to discuss, we're going to put an ad in the paper, or where we're going to put what the qualifications we're looking for. So,
Did we previously put one in the New York Times?
let me just stop. Did you guys hear from the beginning what our process was? Just so you get back there.
Yeah.
In terms of advertising.
Okay, so okay, so now we have to, what are we looking for in the superintendent? We want to run the same ad that we did the last time, we're going to have another meeting to discuss the qualifications.
Maybe just look at what we submitted and then say, do we want to revise it?
Yeah. And did we put one, I don't know, you could check, please, Pete, because
There was an advertisement in the New York Times.
Yes, I
Last
saw it
time.
was advertised in the Times and, yeah.
But is that still necessary when we talk about all
Yes.
this?
I don't think it's as relevant as
Okay.
it would have been in 2017.
Well, we don't need it, we don't need the time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just from a cost perspective, not the.
I mean, what is your recommendation?
I would recommend using OLAS.
Okay.
Back in 2017, the cost of a relatively small advertisement at the Times was about $6,000.
Yeah.
That covers the entire cost for OLAS.
Right.
So I
Our
think,
timeline is,
Pete, I trust your judgment because you brought in some good candidates, so.
our timeline is tight, so, our next board meeting for anything we want to put in the ad, we're going to but you just want to,
Well, I want to see what.
Yeah, if you can come up with a, I guess, a draft.
Or just even maybe give us the prior ones, so we can look
I
at
can
it.
provide the part.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be good. Thank you.
anybody else?
I mean, one point, just in case people aren't familiar, we have a comprehensive site-based, multiple stakeholders, like, everybody weighs in on that. So, I mean, I think, and we've seen the results of that because we've hired excellent administrators. So I think for me, I just wanted to make sure people understood, even though there's an OLA set, it's a long process.
That's the start of the
Right,
process.
right.
Anybody else? Any other item for discussion?
I mean, I just wanted, because we have a larger crowd than we did last week. When Dr. Simmel told us that he was going to take retirement in answer to a higher authority than the school board.
My wife.
But the funny thing is, we all knew who he was talking about, at least I did.
I have to say personally, I was disappointed that you made this decision. But I know anyone that has the opportunity to do so, if it's right for them, it's the best thing to do.
Yeah, I was surprised.
And I want to say too that you've really shown leadership through this crisis, and I appreciate everything that you've done. And I wish you success.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, ditto to that.
Agreed by everybody, I'm sure. Anybody else?
I had something. I had attended the SEPTA meeting last night, and I just wanted to mention that SEPTA has a new website, sayvillesepta.com. Everybody can go on there and get some information. And also, one of the high school students, Thomas Wake, was recognized last night with a kudos award for going above and beyond, looking out for another student. It was really nice to see that.
I did think ever since they started doing those kudos awards, and recognition with it, it's such a great group of organization of people right now, so it's appreciate all the hard work.
Yeah, it was great.
Excuse me, I'd like the website. Could you say that again, please?
sayvillesepta.com.
Okay, very good.
Very nice. It's a nice page.
It's got a lot of nice tabs.
Yeah.
Very good. Excellent.
Is it? Okay.
Very good.
We're going to open up the public session, but before we do, I'm going to read the statement that I've been reading at board meetings. Welcome to our March 10th meeting. I want to take a moment to read a statement on behalf of the Board of Education. The Board of Education, our administrator, listen carefully to what our members of the community have to say. We hear from a variety of community members and different points of view. As the Board of Education, we recognize certain fundamental freedoms that are essential to a democratic nation. Among them is freedom of speech, but these freedoms are not without restrictions. We will follow the regulations specified by law and policy, and as we encourage our community members to offer public comment during the Board of Education meeting. The Board of Education requests that anyone who wishes to participate in public session demonstrate civility as they address the board. The Board of Education meetings are meetings that are held in public view, giving the public opportunity to watch, listen, and to proceedings of the board. In these meetings, the district updates the board on matters pertaining to the board district. In these meetings, the board may also require to take action on matters related to operations of the school district. Under Board Policy 1230, the board permits public comment period during certain guidelines. With that in mind, the brief parameters of tonight's public comment. Can I just see a show of hands, how many people wish to speak tonight? Okay, we normally set up at 30 minutes. It's good.
I think we can do that.
We normally set like 30 minutes, but we ask you to leave your comments at 3 minutes. Please, if you wish, if you want to step to the mic, please identify yourself, and we won't discuss personnel, students, matters with the community members. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming. The floor is yours.
Can I just add something about the center website?
Can you step up there? Hold on, let me get my time going. I'm sure we got a bit of-
I just wanted everybody to know that the website is linked through the district. We worked with Dana Galanti, so it can also be found right through the Sayville website.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Looks awesome.
Thanks.
Looks awesome.
Thank you.
We posted on our website that link?
I think that-
Yeah, it is there. But you can go right to it.
You know, the arrows.
Hello, Shanoa Ludwig, I have 2 different districts. I'm one of the gazillion emails that you got from Mr. Stimmel. I wasn't here
And I
last
promise I am gonna return.
week. I wasn't here, no, I'm not worried about that, but I wasn't here last week, and then news traveled really fast and hit many of us very hard, so you will absolutely be missed. I was selfishly hoping you really extended out till my kids were done.
When your
just-
kids turn 20.
I have like 7 more years. But anyway, congratulations, and I'm sad, but that's okay. I had a quick question for the board. My understanding is the governor has gotten many of her new regulations passed through SAPA that she wanted. One of those regulations is that the school nurses now can provide immunizations, all immunizations to children in the district. Many of the districts across Long Island have already said no thank you. I'm wondering what Sayville's stance is.
I mean, do you have any additional questions?
Nope, that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have to discuss.
Well, we're going to answer the question at the end. Is there any more questions?
Yeah.
So, hello everybody, I'm Dr. Stimmel. I'd like to come see you and thank you. But I have been to countless meetings over the years, 10 years. And then prior to that, maybe 20 years. I've been with the district since 1995. I am beyond disappointed and disgusted. I know you all try to do your best. But this disdain for the community has been evident lately. We had a resident ask, when the room was overflowing, how can we extend 30-minute comment period? You all know you only need to take a vote. Nobody told that gentleman that. We represent him as a board, right? Nobody said to him, we could take a vote. A member asked, of the community asked where the COVID funds were and where they could be located in the budget. Really simple. She has a presentation, Ms. Marcus, right? I think on board docs, and they can be found in the budget, in the revenue side of the budget. Nobody answered that woman last time. These are simple, really simple questions, and people are just blown off to come up here sometimes. And it's just not friendly, and it's horrifying for me to watch. It was never like that in the past. Kelly, I'm sorry, you're excluded, you just got here, you're new. So I'm excluding you from all this, by the way. I have a question, I don't expect an answer now. I know the answer. Do you want people to know what you're voting on? You represent all of us. You're voting on items for all of us. Do you want them to know before you vote on what you vote on? It's apparent to me you don't. You have to engage our attorney. You have to. I can't unless I bring a lawsuit against the district. And take it upon yourself and say, hey, here's updates to meeting law that someone sent to us. Can you please check this out? Are we doing this right? That hasn't been done yet. I've been coming here for years asking for transparency of items voted on, of video cameras. People can't make this. Teachers can't make this. Out-of-district teachers go home to Babylon or whatever. They'd like to see what's going on. You're approving meeting minutes that do not have reasons for executive session in violation of open meeting law. Okay, they were approved last week. I went over it. They're all like that. No reason. In the past, you did not disclose a lost rebate check to residents. I had to do that. And unfortunately, that budget failed. Had you been honest at the onset, maybe it wouldn't have. Maybe we would have found savings. There was theft in the district. I foiled 2,000 invoices. I had to bring that to New York State Comptroller because you guys didn't let your committee, your auditors know. Beginning of every audit committee meeting, they ask you, was there theft? Nobody say anything. I understand my time is up.
I'm gonna ask you to finish up, please.
Okay, I'll finish up. There is a lot of deception, or maybe it's incompetence. This current budget, I couldn't look at it quickly enough. I can't find a line item up yet. $2.3 million increase, over $1 million, that's insurance. How we reviewed insurance. I know it's a pain to change. It's an obligation to look at it. That's your obligation to ask the questions. It's a lot of money. It's also not 138 per average household.
Again, without being disrespectful.
Okay, it is not 138. That figure is wrong that he's giving you. It is over 400 a year. Okay, that is completely wrong. It's 463 a year and 39 a month for the average assessed at 40,000. And I ask you all to review that, or at least be honest, so people can make an informed choice. I can afford it, but maybe somebody here can't because they have to pay to fill their oil.
I'm gonna please ask you one more time.
Okay, is it the only other thing? Two quick things, I'm sorry. I hope Mr. Pace goes over this with staff. Whether or not I choose to run the board, I would be more than happy to sit with him and staff and go over things. We could have more money to do things with the kids. That's it. And for those of you who are not wearing masks tonight, who said they work, I would like to know why you're not wearing them, if you count on you next time to follow, or will you leave? Because if you're not wearing them now and you think they work, you're only following. I hope you lead. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Being that there's no other, then we're gonna move on. I'm sorry, I didn't see you.
Yeah, so,
On this side.
oh, no. Mrs. Ludwig had asked about the school nurses. So several months ago, the county had told us about, being a vaccination site. And at that time, we informed them that given the number of pharmacies and clinics, there really wasn't a need for there to be a vaccine distribution. So my understanding from speaking to state level colleagues is that if you get to some places upstate where the nearest pharmacy might be an hour down the road, there's much more of a need there. So at this point, our feelings in the district are pretty strong that any family that does wish to pursue vaccines with their children are going to do it with their pediatrician or through the pharmacy and not through our school nurses. So, okay.
Thank you.
Answers your question?
Totally.
Okay. And then, obviously, Mrs. Rizzo had raised several concerns. One of them, has to do with, like, when we communicate to the community what the average increase, what we anticipated to be, we base that on an assessment of $40,000. Dr. Gurgis, I don't know if you want to just take that one on specifically.
Yeah. It's the total assessed value that the town of Islip gives us divided by the number of properties. And the estimate that we have right now is actually $39,512, and I can gladly share that with the board if you'd like.
But that assessment number is right on it's on you.
It's on the tax schedule that the town of Islip provides to us. So the estimate of $40,000 is the approximate number that we go by. And then going by the base proportion, the homestead taxable amount, and the tax rate for $100 through that calculation, you take the difference from 21.22 to 22.23, and that is what gives you your annual difference.
So someone could have a house assessed at $28,000, someone could have a house assessed at $58,000.
Correct. That's why it's the average.
And as far as the budget detail, is it on the website?
I'm not sure if it's been published, but we can easily put up the
So normally we put up in detail onto the website.
One other,
I'm sorry?
We have in the past.
So,
We
double
just
check.
haven't
If not, I'll
put
put it up.
Okay.
With regard to that estimate,
Hold on.
one
So-
other question.
So someone else is, I'm sorry, I'm trying to see and listen at the same time, because I think Sam Dr. Burgess was speaking. Yeah.
No, I was just mentioning that.
No, I just have a question. What was our health insurance increase this year?
Approximately 13% from last year, which was, I want to say, it came out to about 1.3 million.
Okay,
And that's not just for Sayville, that was statewide.
Yeah.
Any night shift participant.
Yes, and I do know that, I know in other business areas that was much higher, but this was higher too. It's crazy. I was just wondering.
Okay, I think we have one more question.
Yes, with regard to the tax increase or the presentation of it, as a New York State CPA, your logic is oversimplified. Houses in Sayville are not averaged at 39 or 40,000 that you're doing it. I would recommend put out a band. So if your assessed value on your tax bill is between 20 and 25, your increase will be 3%. If it's 25 to 30, your increase will be X percent. Using $38 per month is wrong. It's not transparent, and it's not too hard to figure out what the actual roles are. You probably have access to that data. So I would recommend you publish that information. Because I don't, as receiving my tax bill, I just know my value. I don't know if I'm way above or way below. And then your number doesn't jive to anything that we can see other than the simple math you just presented. So I would recommend doing something like that in your disclosures and your...
We actually do that as part of the annual disclosure. In May, it's part of a budget book which would be available at the buildings, and it does have the town of Islip assessed value plus and the number of homes, so that anybody can reach that number, and I can gladly sit down and show you how I can get to that if you'd like.
I'd love to see
That
it.
is something just in the air of transparency. It is actually a legal requirement that we do publish. Every district has to publish it, and it is in the budget books. So I just want to make that clear as well.
It just seems oversimplified as to how it's presented in a slide on one line.
Well, I mean, with the question asked as to how that assessment came about, I'm giving, the numbers in the most simplest terms. It is the assessed value divided by the number of properties. That's how you get the average assessed value, which is how it was presented up there. And then the difference between 21-22 to 22-23. I didn't really want to get into the technical terms, but, on the basic level, that is how it's calculated.
I can also say the average salary at this table is $150,000, and yet it probably goes from 70 to 450. So which one?
Zero.
So outside of the board, so averages can be very deceiving.
All right, thank you. Thank you, everybody. We're going to move on with public actions. We're going to recommend actions minutes. Can I have a motion for 5.1 and 5.2, please?
Motion.
Discussion? All those in favor? I don't think we have to vote on that, but recommended action finance, I don't have to read 6.1, do I have to read 6.2, correct? For roll
Which one
call?
has to be read?
6.2.
6-2.
All right, so I'm going to call 6.1.
6-1 says roll call vote too.
No, but I don't have to read
You
it.
don't have to read it out, that's just for inclusion into the annual meeting notice. 6-2.
So I'll call 6.1, 6.3, 6.4, 6.5, 6.6, 6.7, 6.8, 6.9, 6.10, down to 6.19.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Discussion?
Do you want to?
Okay. We're going to do a roll call vote on resolution 1. Let's start with Kelly. Yea, nay?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
No?
Yes.
Dr. Rich?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. So, the motion passed, bond passed, bond resolution passed. Congratulations. All right, next one is another roll call vote, it's 6-2. I need a motion, please.
Motion.
Second? Second. Discussion? I'm going to read it. Bear with me. Recommended motion resolved that the Board of Education hereby adopts proposed budget for the 22-23 school year in the total amount of $99,302,457 for presentation to the public at a public hearing on voters of the Sayville Unified School District. I'm sorry, did I just skipped that whole line. Okay. Public hearing on Tuesday, May 10, 2020 at 7:30 p.m. At the Sayville Administration abilities of submission to qualified voters of Salem Union Free School District. Approved on Tuesday, May 17, between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7:30 p.m. prevailing time at the old junior high gymnasium, and the tax report, and further be resolved that the Board of Education hereby adopts and approves the school district property tax report card appended to and adopts the proposed budget and directs the district clerk, to transmit said school district property tax report card to local newspapers in general circulation and submitted to said school district property tax report card to the State Education Department by the end of the next business day. And it further resolved that the Board of Education directs the district clerk to include after said total amount in the school budget notice that will be mailed to qualified voters of Sayville Union Free School District after the date of public hearing, but no later than 6 days prior to the annual meeting, the budget vote. It's a roll call vote. I'm going to go from this side first. Bert.
Yeah, I just want to point one thing out, the time, I think you misread, it was 7 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, so,
7 a.m. to 9 p.m.
right, so yeah.
That's what he said, right?
Tom?
Yes, sir.
Kelly?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
I vote yes. Okay, so it's a unanimous vote for the budget. Thank you. Congratulations. Next item on the agenda is new business personnel. I need a motion to 7-1 to 7-2.
Motion.
Second. Discussion? All in favor? Motion carries. New business other, 8-1 to 8-3. Need a motion, please?
Motion.
Second. Discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries. Upcoming dates. We went over all of them already. March 24th and 26th, high school musical, the wedding singer, April 17th. The board is from April 7th, Board of Education meeting here, 7 p.m. April 18th to 22nd, school closed for recess, and April 27th, Wednesday, Board of Education meeting, 7:30. Need a motion to go to executive session? That's contractual matters.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Discussion, all those in favor? Thank you all for coming tonight. Have a great night.